Today we're going to try something a bit different, and I'm going to give you 5 tips, 5 things that I wish I'd known when I was starting photography. Number 1, notice where the light is coming from. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? The word photography derives from painting with light, and it is really the essence of everything we're doing. If you look at this picture of the Spice Girls, you have 2 different ways of lighting within one frame. Victoria is lit from behind, backlighting, so she's almost silhouette. And then you have Jerry, who is like a Renaissance painting, the girl in the pearl earring, lit from the side. So start to notice where the light is coming from. A great tip is to ensure that your subject has a highlight in their eye if you're photographing people, because it makes them look alive. If there's no highlight, then maybe move them to a different location until the light is in the right place and you actually see that highlight. And then when you do go into the eye and look at the highlight, you can actually see exactly how the scene is lit. Number 2, take a deep breath and relax. Photography is literally capturing moments. Therefore, try and be present. Try to enter what psychologists call a flow state, in the zone. All our relationships to photography is really, really personal. I would find if I didn't take any pictures for a while, I'd start to feel a bit down, and then I'd remember I've got photography. It's my thing. It's something very, very personal. Don't be preoccupied with fitting in with other people's ideas of what it should be. Some of my very best pictures, like this one, occur when I'm surrounded by PRs and agents saying, "What on earth are you doing?" Just be true to your instincts and trust your judgment. Be playful and have fun. No one's going to remember that you came up with a stupid idea, a ludicrous kind of suggestion, that you were undignified and made a fool of yourself. In 10 years' time, all that's going to be left is the picture. I remember taking this picture at the Royal Ballet, and everyone was really concerned that my subject would be leaping around amongst all the detritus at the back of the stage. She didn't mind, but everyone else was concerned. But ultimately, now all that remains is a lovely picture. Number 3, this is a strange one, and one that really only applies in the digital world. But ensure you don't lose the highlights. In other words, ensure that your pictures are exposed in such a way as they're darker rather than lighter. When I first started developing my films, the nightmare scenario was lifting the celluloid out of the fixative, holding it up to the light, seeing what you got, and seeing that the information in the shadows was non-existent. The negative was thin. Now everything has flipped. When shooting with digital cameras, what you must avoid at all cost is the highlights being bleached out. If you are looking for a way of improving the quality of your camera phone pictures, just err on the side of underexposure, because you can always bring them up in Photoshop. Number 4, less is more. Being a photographer is really just about having a consistent opinion about how things should be arranged within a camera frame. Start by simplifying, breaking down the elements. Symmetry is very powerful. As Robert Capa, the famous war photographer, said, if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not in close enough. My picture of Robin Williams is a good example. It's stark, it's simple, it's graphic. I had very little time to do it, so I went to something that I knew would work, sort of the graphic simplicity and stark kind of brutal compositional style of cropping his head off. 25 years later, after he died, a book came out and my picture was used on the cover of the book. So it shows that it doesn't have to be a sophisticated, complicated picture for it to be a successful one. Number 5, your images matter. Value them. Most of the imagery created digitally will disappear. Negatives and transparencies are actually quite resilient, but digital pictures are just ephemera that will evaporate into the ether if not backed up properly. I have 2 sets of hard drives in 2 different locations in case my house burns down or is hit by a meteor. That would be over the top for most people, but consider buying some USB sticks. It's such a kind of humdrum piece of advice, but you never know, like with my picture of Baroness Thatcher, how a picture that you've taken could end up being part of a historical document, and most digital imagery will disappear. If you're shooting on negative, start creating a database with the subject, the date, and who you shot it for, because in 25 years time you'll be really pleased you have that information. I've got the negatives from 25,000 rolls of film, and I'm really pleased that back when I was young I had the foresight to open a database and fill it full of as much information about the shoots as I could. Fred suggested I do lighting techniques, and we will do that kind of thing in due course. There are other aspects of photography that we can explore, but these 5 things are absolutely crucial, even if they are kind of quite disparate pieces of advice. I hope they might be of some use to you. The most important thing is enjoy your photography.